At 43, LaTisha Scott finally revealed the real reason behind Melody leaving, and trust me, you won't believe it. It's a shocking twist that no one saw coming. For years, fans have been speculating, whispering about the true cause of Melody's exit. Some thought it was a business decision, others believed it was personal, but no one truly knew what went down. Everyone has their theories, but what LaTisha shared changed everything. You might have thought you knew the reason, or maybe you had your own assumptions. But here's the twist: it wasn't about fame, money, or career. It wasn't even about something that could easily be solved. LaTisha said it herself, and this is where it gets really interesting. She didn't hold back. The real reason was something so personal, so deep, that it shocked everyone who thought they knew the story. LaTisha's words made it clear. Melody's decision to leave wasn't something that happened overnight. It didn't come from a single argument or a falling out in front of cameras. No, this was something that built up over time. There were small signs, things that started to add up, but no one connected the dots. No one realized how bad things had gotten, not even LaTisha herself. And here's the craziest part. LaTisha had no idea just how much pain Melody was in until it was too late. Destiny took an unexpected turn, and it all happened behind the scenes. If only LaTisha had seen it earlier, things might have turned out differently. But by the time the truth came to light, the damage was done. Melody had made up her mind. What makes this whole story different is that it's not your typical fallout between friends. There was no shouting match or public drama that could have hinted at what was really happening. In fact, from the outside, it seemed like everything was fine, but deep down, something was slowly cracking. LaTisha had no idea how close they were to the breaking point. It wasn't just about Melody walking away from a show. It was about a friendship unraveling at the seams. You won't believe how things got so messy so quickly. It wasn't just one moment that pushed Melody to the edge. It was a series of events that LaTisha herself couldn't see. The tension between them was growing, but it was hidden behind the smiles and the cameras. You can almost feel the weight of those unsaid words, the moments that were brushed off, the hurt that no one could see. LaTisha never realized just how serious it was until Melody was already gone. And by the time the truth hit, it was too late to fix it. Stay with me because things are about to get even more shocking. This story is far from over, and the biggest revelation is yet to come. You won't believe the real reason that LaTisha only just now felt comfortable sharing with the world. What was really going on behind closed doors? How did it all go from friendship to complete breakdown? Let me tell you, there's a twist here that will leave you speechless. As LaTisha continued to explain the real reason behind Melody's departure, it became clear that what happened wasn't as simple as anyone thought. For years, people had wondered if it was about the fame, the drama, or the personal struggles they both faced. The public only saw snippets, a carefully curated version of their lives. But LaTisha revealed something much deeper, a truth that no one could have imagined. The pain that led to Melody leaving wasn't caused by a single moment, but by a slow buildup of unspoken frustrations and emotions. For LaTisha, it was a wake-up call. She shared how she didn't see the cracks forming in their relationship. They were so close, or at least it seemed that way. But sometimes things aren't what they appear to be. The signs were there, but they were hidden beneath the surface. The betrayals, the small lies, the miscommunications, all piled up over time, and LaTisha couldn't see it. But this is where it gets interesting. LaTisha admitted that she was blindsided. She never thought Melody would walk away, at least not like this. She had always assumed that their bond was strong enough to overcome anything. But when Melody made the decision to leave, it wasn't about a simple disagreement or a fight. There was a much bigger issue at play, and LaTisha only learned about it much later. The truth was, Melody felt betrayed, and it wasn't just about one person. It was a culmination of things that went unnoticed by everyone, even LaTisha. The craziest part of all of this, Melody didn't leave for a job or to pursue her own career. No, it was about something personal, something that, in LaTisha's words, changed everything. Melody had been carrying a burden that no one knew about, a burden that no one took the time to understand. And that's when the real shock hit. Melody wasn't just walking away from a show or from LaTisha, she was walking away from the emotional toll that had been weighing her down for so long. It wasn't just about the fame or the cameras. Behind it all, Melody had a need for space, a need for peace. And that peace, LaTisha now realized, could only come from separating herself from the chaos that had been brewing. But what was it that LaTisha didn't know? What were the things that Melody was hiding? The answers weren't easy for LaTisha to hear. As the truth unfolded, she was forced to face the reality that she had been blind to Melody's struggles. And that was the part that hurt the most, knowing that she had missed the signs. This is where the real twist happens. LaTisha said it wasn't just about their friendship being strained. It was about Melody's personal growth, her need to find herself away from everything they had built together. It was a shift in priorities, a realization that she needed more than what the show or the people around her could offer. And LaTisha, for the longest time, didn't understand why Melody was acting the way she was. She couldn't see how deeply it was affecting her. But in the end, Melody's decision was her way of protecting herself, even if it meant leaving everything behind. The truth was difficult to accept, but LaTisha had to come to terms with it. What was once a partnership built on trust had turned into something much more complicated. And the betrayal wasn't just a simple disagreement. It was a deep, emotional wound that LaTisha couldn't have foreseen. Melody's exit wasn't just about career moves or drama. It was about something far more personal, and LaTisha had to face that reality, no matter how much it hurt. Now, as things begin to settle, the biggest question remains, is there any chance for reconciliation? Can they ever rebuild what was broken? And if so, what will it take to fix the damage that's already been done? Stay with me because this story is far from over and the twists keep coming. As LaTisha continued to reflect on Melody's decision, the truth became even more complex. What everyone thought was simply an issue of a friend leaving due to drama and personal differences turned out to be far more painful. It wasn't just about two women having a falling out in front of the cameras. It was about deeper emotional struggles that had been building up for years, unseen by most. The more LaTisha shared, the more the layers of their friendship were peeled back, revealing truths that no one could have predicted. The shocking part of it all was how much LaTisha had underestimated the toll their relationship had taken on Melody. LaTisha admitted that she had been so wrapped up in her own struggles and the pressures of the show that she didn't notice how much Melody was suffering behind the scenes. There were moments when they should have talked, when LaTisha should have seen that something was wrong, but instead, she was caught up in the whirlwind of their work and the spotlight. Melody, on the other hand, had kept her emotions bottled up, not wanting to add to the stress that was already consuming their lives. It was this silence, this inability to communicate openly that caused the biggest rift between them. LaTisha now understood that Melody didn't just need a break from the show. She needed a break from the constant pressure, the expectations, and the emotional toll of carrying the weight of their friendship alone. For Melody, walking away wasn't a decision she made lightly, but it was a necessary one. The craziest part, LaTisha never even saw it coming. She thought their bond was strong enough to handle anything, but in reality, it was the very thing they had both relied on for so long that was causing the pain. And here's where it gets even more interesting. LaTisha admitted that, in some ways, she too had taken Melody for granted. She had always assumed that their friendship would remain intact, that they could always count on each other. But as the years went by, the cracks in their connection became harder to ignore. Both women had changed, but they hadn't taken the time to address it. Instead, they kept pushing forward, pretending that everything was fine. The truth was, it wasn't. Melody had outgrown a lot of things, including her need to be part of the show and the emotional strain it caused. But LaTisha wasn't just grappling with the pain of losing her friend, she was also dealing with the guilt of not realizing sooner that things had gotten this bad. She wondered if there was something she could have done differently. If only she had listened more closely, paid attention to the little signs that Melody was dropping, maybe things wouldn't have turned out this way. The guilt was overwhelming, and LaTisha found herself questioning everything about their relationship. Was it just a matter of timing, or was this the inevitable outcome of two people who had drifted apart without realizing it? The real shocker came when LaTisha admitted that even though she was hurt by Melody's decision, she understood why it had to happen. It wasn't about Melody abandoning her, it was about Melody taking control of her own life. The hardest part was accepting that sometimes people outgrow each other. It wasn't a betrayal, but a necessary step for Melody to move forward, to find her peace and her path. This realization hit LaTisha hard, and she shared that for the first time in a long time, she saw the situation from Melody's perspective. And it wasn't easy, but it also opened LaTisha's eyes to something important. No matter how close you are to someone, no matter how long you've known them, there comes a time when both people need to grow. And that growth might not always look like what you expect. It might even mean letting go. But that's the part that kept LaTisha up at night. The uncertainty of what comes next. Can they ever find a way back to each other? Can their bond be repaired after everything that has happened? Or has the distance between them grown too wide to bridge? The questions were endless and the answers weren't clear. But what was clear was that the hurt wasn't just a result of Melody leaving. It was about the long-term emotional toll it took on both of them. So where does this leave us? Is there any hope for a reunion? Will LaTisha and Melody ever be able to rebuild their relationship? Or is this the end of an era? The truth is, there's still a lot to be discovered about what went wrong, and even more about what happens next. But one thing is certain, this story is far from over. You won't want to miss what happens next, because it's about to get even more intense. As LaTisha's revelations continued, it became more and more clear that the emotional weight of the situation was something neither of them had anticipated. It wasn't just about losing a friend. It was about realizing how far apart they had drifted without either of them truly understanding it. LaTisha's words painted a picture of two people who had once been so close, yet had quietly grown apart in ways that neither of them could have stopped. And the more LaTisha spoke, the more the heartbreaking reality began to sink in. Sometimes when people grow, they do so in opposite directions. What made this story even more complicated was that neither LaTisha nor Melody wanted things to end the way they did. LaTisha shared that when Melody left, she didn't see it as a permanent goodbye. She thought it was a temporary break, something that would be mended in time. But Melody's decision wasn't about taking a break. It was about moving forward without looking back. It was about letting go of the past and stepping into a new chapter of her life, one that didn't involve the stress and the unresolved tension that had been clouding their relationship. Melody didn't want to carry that emotional burden anymore. The craziest part, Melody didn't even explain everything to LaTisha when she left. There were still so many unanswered questions, so many things LaTisha never fully understood. For LaTisha, it felt like a sudden blow. One day, everything seemed fine, and the next, Melody was gone, with no clear explanation. It was as if the final straw had been something LaTisha had never seen coming. But in reality, it wasn't just one incident. It was a collection of moments that slowly eroded their connection. But as LaTisha went deeper into the situation, she realized something incredibly important. Melody's departure wasn't just an act of frustration. It wasn't about a final act of anger or hurt. It was an act of self-preservation. Melody was doing what was best for her, And that meant cutting ties with the things that were draining her emotionally, even if it meant leaving LaTisha behind. It was a difficult pill for LaTisha to swallow, especially since she had been so caught up in her own feelings of betrayal. But over time, she came to understand that this was a choice Melody had to make for her own well being. And this is where it gets really interesting. As LaTisha spoke, it became clear that while Melody's decision had caused her immense pain, she also realized that it wasn't entirely Melody's fault. LaTisha had been so focused on the idea of their friendship that she hadn't seen how much Melody had been hurting. The truth was, both of them had their own struggles, and they hadn't taken the time to check in with each other in the way they should have. They hadn't communicated honestly, and that gap had widened without either of them realizing it. This revelation hit LaTisha hard. She realized that she wasn't just the victim in this situation. She too had played a part in the breakdown of their bond. While she had felt betrayed, the reality was that they had both been neglecting the emotional needs of their friendship. Melody had needed more than just a partner in business. She needed someone who could understand the weight she was carrying. But LaTisha, caught up in the pressures of the public life and the drama surrounding them, hadn't been able to provide that for her. And Melody, instead of speaking up, had silently carried the burden on her own until it became too much to bear. And here's where things get even more complicated. The emotional toll that both women had faced wasn't just about their friendship, it was also about the external pressures they were under. The constant public scrutiny, the expectations placed on them by the show, and the demands of being in the spotlight. All of it played a role in their unraveling. It wasn't just the friendship that was breaking down, it was the lifestyle they had built together. And when Melody chose to walk away, it wasn't just from LaTisha, it was from everything that had come to define their lives. The shocking part? As LaTisha continued to reflect, she realized that in some ways, Melody's decision was a wake-up call for both of them. While it hurt like nothing else, it also gave LaTisha a new perspective. She understood that sometimes the most painful decisions are the ones that lead to the most growth. And in this case, Melody's departure was the catalyst for both women to confront their own emotional baggage. LaTisha knew that even though their friendship might never be the same, she had learned valuable lessons about herself and about what it takes to truly nurture a relationship. But the question still lingered. Could they ever repair what had been broken? Could time heal the wounds? Or was this the final chapter of their story? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain, the journey they had been on had changed them both forever. And as LaTisha continued to reflect on everything that had happened, she knew that there was still hope for healing, even if that healing didn't come in the way she had expected. And as the story unfolds, there's still more to discover about what's next for both LaTisha and Melody. The twists are far from over, and as we move closer to the final chapters of their story, you won't want to miss what happens next. As we approach the final stretch of this story, the questions surrounding LaTisha and Melody's friendship still remain unanswered. Can they ever repair the damage that's been done? Can the emotional rift they've created be healed, or is it too late for reconciliation? LaTisha's reflections over the past few months have been nothing short of eye-opening. And while she's come to terms with the fact that Melody's departure was something necessary for both of them, there's still a part of her that wishes things had turned out differently. In a recent conversation, LaTisha admitted that, while she had been blindsided by Melody's exit, she now sees it as a chance for both of them to grow. It wasn't just about Melody needing to step away. It was about LaTisha realizing that she too had to take a step back and reassess her own life. The reality of their situation was that both of them had been running on empty, neglecting their own emotional needs and focusing too much on external pressures. And it wasn't until Melody left that LaTisha truly saw how much she needed to slow down and reevaluate her own priorities. The shocking part here is that despite all the pain, LaTisha has found peace in knowing that Melody's decision wasn't personal. It wasn't about betrayal or anger. It was about Melody's own need to find herself again, to focus on what truly mattered in her life. And while LaTisha still has moments of doubt and sadness, she now understands that this break was a necessary part of their journey, even if it was hard to accept at first. But here's where things take another unexpected turn. LaTisha has recently started to wonder if there's a chance for them to reconnect, even after everything that's happened. She's come to realize that their friendship, although fractured, might not be beyond repair. The distance between them has given both of them time to reflect and grow. LaTisha knows that there will always be pain in the aftermath of what happened, but she also understands that time has a way of healing wounds, even the deepest ones.